No Gnews is good Gnews. Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today we're going to talk about some current events. And I know I kind of borrowed that from, I think it was the electric company with Gary Gnews. Now, I hope I don't get in trouble for it, but I thought it was pretty cool. Someone suggested that I start using that, and I apologize, but I can't remember who it was. In the comments, so thank you to whoever it was that suggested it. And so anyway, I'll talk about some current events. I talked about the whole Charlie Kirk thing, went over that over the weekend with my live streams, during my live streams, so I'm not going to touch on that this time, even though that is the biggest current event. But like I said, I'm just not going to talk about that one. Number one is that the Federal Reserve is considering a 25 basis rate point cut. And because of the economy and stuff is slowing down or whatever, right? And so the Federal Reserve, that privately owned bank that's running our country, is going to bless the masses with a rate cut or whatever. And to me, when I see shit like that and I hear stuff like that, to me that's, I mean, I'll be honest, it's just sickening. What gives this bank, this privately owned bank, whoever's running that institution, what gives them the power to control us and our economy and our prosperity? Who gives them that power? Who gave them that power? Well, it was Congress in 1913. Basically, that's the legal reason. That's the legal definition of it, or whatever. But it really sickens me when I think about it. They don't produce anything. They don't do anything good for. When's the last time a bank did something good for humanity? All right, all they do is charge us interest rates, balloon rates, and all this shit, and rob us blind. If you're on the line and you get a debit charge, right, and you can't cover it, the bank will let you know that that they didn't cover it, you didn't have enough money, and then they will charge you $35 fee. It's just highway robbery. It's just all fees and different ways to rob us, nickel and dime us to death, keep us poor, keep us, from prosperity, and they do absolutely nothing in return. They a small amount of convenience, so we don't have to carry cash around with us and exchange cash. But other than that, they're despicable. I mean, banks are just despicable. I know everybody just thinks about a bank, and it's a bank, and you take your money or whatever. But the amount of robbery that goes on throughout the course of a year is just insane. When you look at all these little fees, $3.50 here, $35 there, this and that, and this and that, and it's just robbery. They don't do anything. They don't produce anything. They don't cure anything. They don't heal anything. They don't do anything except rob you. And then we're supposed to thank them. We're supposed to appreciate the fact that they're robbing us, right? It's the epitome of disgusting, in my opinion. Just banks, and the banks are what, the central bank is what controls the entire world, and then these other banks that spread out are just like tentacles on an octopus, and they've got the entire world encircled in this financial death grip. So I honestly despise it. It's abhorrent. It's anti-human. It's anti-peace. It's anti-prosperity. It's anti-everything good and noble and just in the world. I hate it. I hate banks. I hate banking. I hate interest rates and financial institutions. It's disgusting. So now you know how I feel about that. Number two is that big news is that Apple saw record iPhone 17 pre-orders in China. And that, to me, that's just wonderful. I mean, can you imagine anything much more wonderful than that? I mean, look what this global economy has got us. These new markets opened up to American companies. I mean, Apple was only like a, $500 billion company. Now they're over $1 trillion now that, we've got all these global markets and stuff for them. And, 500 billion, that's not enough. Really, that's not enough. They need their profits more than, you need a job, and more than your kids need food and, shoes and stuff like that. Their profits are just the most important thing really on the planet. Corporate profits. Now, I mean, Apple might be the most important right now, but it's all these huge multinational conglomerates that, the board members, they work so hard to change the world for the better and to help the common man. They deserve their record profits and their record sales. They deserve they deserve to get a third, fourth yacht. They shouldn't have to settle for one yacht. You know what I mean? When we can just eat less, vacation less, so they can have that fourth or fifth yacht. I think that's a small price to pay. You know what I mean? So the whole thing that I think everyone in Western civilization should just pat themselves on the back for the fact that Apple is getting record sales in China. Because what would they do without Chinese sales? They'd just be like regular billionaires. Okay, the CEO of Apple would just be just a normal billionaire. He wouldn't be a special billionaire or whatever. I don't know what they call those people like that when you get up to that level. But he wouldn't be that special. He wouldn't have as much money. He wouldn't have as many billions or whatever. So, yeah, that kind of stuff is important. We need our billionaires and our billion-dollar corporations to be, to get to the trillions, screw the small farmer, the mom-and-pop stores, the people trying to do stuff, here in their home country, in their hometown. Screw them, just screw all that. Just as long as these big multinational conglomerate corporations, as long as they get their record profits and their record sales, I mean, what else is there? Honestly, what else is there? Banking? Maybe banks. Maybe banks are more important than those, but not much else, So I just think that's wonderful. Apple, I applaud Apple and everybody in Western civilization who has kept their head down and just gone without, so that Apple could branch out and get record sales in China. So that's awesome. Yeah, really great. And the third one is that Ukraine is attacking Russia, a new front or a new battle strategy or something, and Russia is doing something with the drones or something, and it doesn't matter over here. I got to go to work tomorrow, so I don't give a shit. If they're gonna fight over there, let them fight. If they can't make a peaceful damn agreement and stop all the bullshit, if they can't act like adults, then let them fight it out. What the hell? We don't need to keep sending Patriot missiles over there. How do you send? Honestly, think about this. How do you send a Patriot missile over to defend another country? How do you do that? The name of the missile is Patriot, right? How do you send that missile over there to shoot from one country, foreign land, to another foreign land, and do that? How do you square that in your head, right? I don't understand that there. The whole idea of patriotism and patriotic means in the country you're in, right? So they need to rename that missile to something else. You know what I'm saying? Global something. Give it a global name. the Earth missile or some shit like that. I don't know. The war on the world missile, some shit. But yeah, they're doing some shit over there. Who cares, right? Let them fight. Let them fight. Just like, back in the 80s when two kids would get in a fight, you didn't go running in there and getting involved. Let them fight. Let them sort it out. That's how we did it back then, and it worked. These governments need to learn some good old-fashioned 80s schoolyard logic. That's what the hell needs to happen. Let them sort that shit out, and then they'll be friends afterwards. Number 4, they had a big old anti-immigration march in London recently, which, that shit should have happened 15, 20 years ago, in my opinion. They should have stood up and done this a long time ago. But, as I've said before, they pick away, and the government, the institutions, the system picks away because they don't want to take too much at one time and force the population to stand up. The population did not want to stand up. 100,000 people did not want to go out there and stand out in the weather and protest against immigration and all this shit. They do not want this conflict. They do not want all this stuff. They just want to live their lives peacefully and happily, but the government of the United Kingdom will not let them. Right? They're forcing the citizens of the UK to stand up and reject that shit. They're forcing them to. These 100,000 people, or however many actually ended up coming out, they were forced to. They didn't want to. And from everything that I've heard about the UK, everything I've heard reported and stuff, it's bad over there. You know what I mean? The entire thing with the immigration and the rape gangs and all this bullshit going on over there, it's horrible. They're losing their culture, they're losing their country, and it's not even a secret anymore. It's not even quiet anymore. If they say anything about it, they go to jail. If they make a Facebook post about it, they go to jail. Now, 100,000, and that's the number I get here, 100,000 of them stood up together and said enough is enough. Here's a prime example of when enough people stand up together, they can't do anything about it. The government cannot arrest 100,000 people. They can't. They might be able to go in and arrest a few of them or whatever, but they can't arrest all 100,000 people. They really can't do anything about it. Okay? And once that happens, and even so, if you do go in there with that many people, I doubt anybody got arrested at all. Because if you do go in there with that many people out there and you start throwing people down and throwing them in cuffs and roughing them up and shit, and you turn 100,000 people violent, now you're through. You've touched a match to the can of gasoline. You're done. So I doubt anybody got arrested or anything, to be honest. I bet you that the government just left them to hell alone. It doesn't say here, the thing I'm reading, but that would just be my guess. But that's the power of numbers, the power that the system, the controlling interests are the most afraid of, is what the UK did over the weekend. The citizens of the United Kingdom stood up together and used one voice. And that is what they most fear. The governments, the institutions, the corporations, the bullshit, right? They fear that the most, that we might cross the lines of their division and stand up together. And the last one I'll talk about is this whole tariff thing and the trade and all that. And I already know, I know that I'm ignorant and I don't know anything, but I'm going to say it anyway. because I think that that's all bullshit. I think that I'm being told by the powers that be that I'm too stupid to understand, that I'm too dumb to grasp these larger concepts, But I'm just a firm believer that from even the smallest level to the largest level, the basic rules apply. Supply and demand. All right? If you give a little kid a piece of bubble gum, he might give you anything he owns for that bubble gum, right? But if he's got a whole damn pile of bubble gum there and he's been chewing on bubble gum for the last 4 days and he's sick and tired of bubble gum, he's not gonna give you anything for your piece of bubble gum in trade, right? That's just supply and demand. That's human nature. That's how it works. So we can understand these basic, small, simple concepts and apply them to the bigger world at large, even, heaven forbid, the global economy, right? We can apply these kind of simple concepts to the global economy because that in the real world, in absolute fact, that these simple concepts control the world economy. That's how it goes. They just throw out all these big words and these big ideas and shit so we think that we just can't understand, right? I believe I can't understand what the hell they're talking about because they're talking like that on purpose. So the point is with the tariffs, they're talking about stagflation and all this other stuff that might happen with the tariffs and whatever. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, that to correct the economy, there's going to be pain. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Trump's not going to wave a magic wand and say, the economy is better and everybody's just going to wake up and have money raining out of the sky on them and shit. No, there's going to be contractions, there's going to be pain, and that's what is needed. Because all this temporary bullshit, just, these bandages we're sticking on, they don't last. They're just undone by the next administration. What we need is surgery. You know what I mean? We need deep fundamental changes. We need to correct this bullshit global economy that is just raping our country and the people who live here. And that's exactly what is happening. How many millions of jobs, literally millions of jobs, have just been sent over to China? That stuff could have been built here in America. And it's gonna be painful to get that back. It's gonna hurt. Yes, there's gonna be inflation, stagflation, whatever you want, whatever kind of marketing propaganda words you want to use. It's going to be all kinds of bullshit. Yep, I got it. Yep, I'm for it. Let it happen. What's the worst thing economically that can happen? A Great Depression. Bring it on. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of being raped and robbed and bullied and just interest rates jacked up and being controlled by these banks and all this shit. It's just time to take back our lives and our country and control of our destiny and our own future, in my opinion. And to get that control back, to get our lives back, it's going to hurt because they've got us hooked in through this global network and shit, and prices are going to be more expensive. Prices are going to be higher for foreign made goods. Great. Buy homemade goods. Or heaven forbid, don't buy anything. Save that money and get something else later or whatever. You've got a choice. Start buying stuff that's made in America, and then Americans will get that money. We send that shit to China, it never comes back. We never see that money again. So what happens? We have to print up more money, and that lowers the value of the money. Printing up more of it makes it worth less. So these people who think they think that they're too ignorant and too dumb and too narrow-minded or whatever to understand this have just been tricked by the institutions and the media into thinking that it's some big complex issue. It's not complex. You print more money, it's worth less. Just like bubble gum. You have more jobs here at home. People have more jobs. There's more money here at home because people are earning more money here at home. And then we trade that money inside our own country, and the money doesn't leave the country. That makes our country richer. That's not some kind of grand abstract idea. That's not some kind of bullshit fairy dust story shit. That's just real common sense. If I give my wife $5 and she gives it to our son and then he gives it back to me, guess what? I still got $5 and everybody got to spend it. I didn't get poorer, but I spent the money. How is that? How just? But they don't. It's just ridiculous. But anyway. So yeah. Yep, tariffs, good. Fix the economy. It never should have been broken. It was broken by design. It was broken on purpose by the Federal Reserve, by the central banks. It's all a mess, and it's all by design, in my opinion. And anybody who doesn't understand that, or who thinks that they can't understand that, then all you got to do is educate yourself a little bit. It's not as complicated as they make it seem. It's really simple. It's not rocket science. You can understand it. If you can hit play on this video and watch a video, then you can understand what the hell I'm talking about, and you can understand the global economy. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can hit that hype button if you see it. That helps out a lot too. You can also head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. Thank you very much to those of you who do that, and I'll leave that link down in the description for you. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X things and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff like that. But I'll leave that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Things, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.